What if the people who are supposed to love you suddenly turn their backs? What would you do if the one place you called home suddenly wasn't yours anymore? That was my Tuesday morning. Sunlight spilling softly through my kitchen window, coffee in hand, the world feeling normal until the phone rang. It was Mom. I knew it before I even looked at the screen. "Hi, Mom," I said, trying to sound calm, my voice betraying me anyway. Then she said it, 7 words that shattered my life. "Don't come home this year. I don't want any drama." 7 words. Just 7 words. No explanation, no apology, just a slammed door on 27 years of trying to belong. I sat down, phone still in hand, staring at the wall. Tears burned, but I wouldn't let them fall. I looked at the photos on my wall, smiling faces frozen in happy moments, mocking me, and I felt emptiness. I remembered childhood, running into the kitchen, Mom smiling, ruffling my hair. That warmth was gone now. I wiped my eyes. I whispered to myself, "Fine, I'll face the world without you." The streets of Boston were alive, families laughing together, holding hands, sharing moments I was suddenly forbidden to have. I passed a restaurant window and stopped. Inside, a family celebrated Thanksgiving. I felt lonely, yet a strange spark of strength began to grow inside me. I went in, sat in a corner, ordered my meal, cold turkey just like my heart felt. I watched the world move around me, people enjoying what I had lost. I gripped the napkin, trembling, trying to hold on to myself. "That Thanksgiving," I whispered, "I didn't just eat a cold turkey. I swallowed betrayal, loneliness, and the first spark of a life I would have to build on my own." After leaving the restaurant, I walked under the fading light of the evening sky, feeling a quiet resolve. I won't be a shadow anymore, not for anyone. Then I saw it, a small bookstore, a flyer pinned to the window. Thanksgiving Charity Gala, seeking volunteers. Something flickered inside me. Curiosity, hope, maybe even a chance to find my place in a world that had suddenly turned its back on me. Little did I know, that tiny step, that small decision, would start a journey I wasn't ready for, a journey full of betrayal, friendship, and a truth I wasn't prepared to face. And the worst part? I was about to discover that some secrets are better left buried. I couldn't stop staring at that flyer pinned to the bookstore window. Thanksgiving Charity Gala, seeking volunteers. I wasn't sure why, but something about it pulled me in. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was a desperate need to find somewhere I belonged. Maybe this is my chance to be somewhere that matters. I hesitated, my hands gripping my coat. The street was quiet, the city moving around me, oblivious to the storm inside me. I walked into the bookstore. It smelled of old paper and vanilla. A bell tinkled softly as the door closed behind me. My eyes scanned the room, and then I saw her. A woman behind a small desk looked up and smiled. Not just a polite smile, but a real warm smile that made the corners of my heart ache. "Hi, can I help you?" she asked. I swallowed hard. I saw your flyer about the gala. Volunteering?" She nodded. "Yes, we're looking for people to help. Are you interested?" "Interest? I don't know if I'm ready, or if I even deserve this." But somehow, before I could stop myself, I said, "Yes, I'd like to help." Her smile widened. She handed me a small booklet. "Great, we meet tomorrow for orientation. Don't worry, it's just a small gathering. Everyone's welcome." I left the bookstore feeling strangely light. For the first time in months, I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a place for me in the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mind raced. Memories of Mom's words, the empty Thanksgiving dinner, the laughter I'd missed. But now, a spark of hope flickered, a small, stubborn flame. Maybe I can build something new, something that isn't broken. The next morning, I arrived at the small community hall. Volunteers of all ages buzzed around, some setting up tables, some arranging decorations. I felt out of place. "Don't be ridiculous," I whispered. "You can do this. Just belong." A man approached, clipboard in hand, wearing a warm scarf and a friendly smile. "You must be Lauren. Welcome." I nodded, hands clasped tightly. "Thank you." He handed me a list of tasks. Suddenly, I was busy, hanging decorations, organizing gift bags, setting tables. Each small task felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Then, I noticed him, a young man helping a group of kids set up chairs. He glanced at me, smiled briefly, and went back to work. Something in his eyes, curious, kind, almost like he could see the chaos hiding beneath my calm exterior. Who is he? Why does it feel like he understands, without me saying anything? The day passed in a blur. Conversations, laughter, small mishaps, and for the first time, I felt connected to something outside of my own pain. As the sun set, we gathered in a circle. The organizer clapped softly. "Thank you, everyone. You've done amazing work. I hope this shows you, even in the smallest acts, we can make a difference." I looked around, at the faces glowing with quiet pride. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not forced, real. Then, a small envelope slid under my chair, my name written in neat handwriting. I picked it up, hands trembling. Inside, a single note. "Be careful who you trust. Not everyone is as kind as they seem." And just like that, I realized this gala, this small act of volunteering, was only the beginning. Something bigger, something I couldn't yet see, was waiting for me. The next morning, I woke up with a pit in my stomach. That note from yesterday, "Be careful who you trust," it kept spinning in my mind. I wasn't sure what it meant. Was someone watching me? Or was it just a warning from someone who knew something I didn't? I decided I couldn't let fear control me. I had already chosen to step into this new world, this volunteering, this life I was trying to rebuild. So I got dressed, took a deep breath, and headed back to the community hall. The sun was barely up, painting the streets in soft orange and pink. When I arrived, the hall was quiet. Most volunteers were already there, setting up for the next day's gala. I noticed him, the young man from yesterday. He looked up, our eyes met, and for a moment, I felt something shift. Not attraction, curiosity, and maybe understanding. "Who are you?" I asked myself silently. And why did it feel like he already knew me, the real me? Before I could dwell on it, a sudden crash echoed from the back of the hall. Boxes tumbled to the floor, paper and decorations scattered everywhere. I ran to help, my hands shaking as I picked up torn wrapping paper. The young man was already there, kneeling, picking up the heaviest boxes. "Thanks," I said, catching my breath. He just nodded, eyes scanning the room like he was looking for something. Then I noticed it, a shadow moving outside the window. Someone was standing there, watching. My heart skipped a beat. Who could it be, and why were they here, at a charity gala? I wanted to call out, to warn the young man, but my voice caught in my throat. The shadow vanished. I told myself it was probably nothing, just someone walking by, but the feeling of being watched stayed with me, lingering in every corner of my mind. We continued setting up, organizing tables, decorations, and gift bags, but I kept glancing at the door, at every shadow, my mind racing with questions I didn't have answers for. At lunch, I found a quiet corner to sit. The young man joined me without a word, handing me a cup of tea. "You seem worried," he said softly. I didn't know if I should tell him about the note, about the shadow, about everything, but somehow I felt like I could trust him. I, I, Someone left me a note yesterday," I said quietly. "It said, 'Be careful who you trust.'" He paused, looking down at his tea, then looked back at me. "Lauren, sometimes the people closest to you aren't who they seem." My stomach dropped. What did he mean? How could he know something I didn't? Before I could ask, the door slammed open. A man in a dark coat stepped inside, scanning the room. My heart raced. He looked directly at me. And then he smiled. A smile that didn't reach his eyes. I froze. I didn't recognize him, but I knew I had to be careful. The young man grabbed my hand gently. "Stay close," he whispered. And just like that, I realized this gala, this volunteering, was no longer just about giving back. It was about survival. I barely had time to process the man's smile, dark and cold, before the young man tightened his grip on my hand. "Stay close," he whispered. The room seemed to shrink around us. Every sound, every shuffle of feet made my heart race faster. I tried to calm myself. It's just a misunderstanding. Maybe he's lost. Maybe... But my own words sounded hollow. Suddenly, he moved closer, stepping around a table with an air of confidence and menace. My stomach twisted. I knew instinctively he wasn't here for the gala. "Who are you?" I wanted to ask, but my voice refused to work. I glanced at the young man, his jaw tightened, eyes narrowing. He whispered, "Follow me, now." We slipped behind a stack of chairs, ducking low. The man in the dark coat scanned the room, then walked away. I exhaled shakily. "Is it over?" I asked quietly. The young man shook his head. "Not yet. He's testing us, seeing if we notice." "Testing us? Why me?" I whispered. He looked at me, eyes sharp. "Because you're the only one who can see what's coming before it's too late." I wanted to scream, to argue, but my voice caught again. All I could do was nod. We moved silently through the back hall, past stacked chairs and decorations. I could hear the faint shuffle of someone approaching. I froze. The shadow was back, closer this time. I could feel his eyes on me. "We need a plan," the young man whispered. "Fast." I scanned the room, my eyes landing on a fire exit door. It was our only chance. We ran, past tables, past decorations, past the hall full of volunteers who hadn't noticed a thing. My heart pounded in my chest, my legs burned, every instinct screamed to keep moving. We burst through the fire exit into the cold evening air. My lungs gasped for oxygen, my hands shaking, and I looked back. The man in the dark coat stood at the doorway, watching. A small, sinister smile crossed his face. I shivered. "Who is he?" I whispered. "Why is he following me?" The young man grabbed my shoulder. "Lauren, he's part of something bigger, and now you're involved." I nodded, heart racing. I don't understand." He shook his head slightly. "You will, soon, but we need to move. He won't wait." I took a deep breath, gripping his hand tighter. The night was dark, silent, and full of secrets. And then I realized this was no longer about volunteering or belonging. This was about surviving. The alley was dark. Cold wind bit at my cheeks as we ran, my legs trembling with every step. Where are we going? I gasped, gripping his hand tighter. Somewhere safe. For now, he replied, eyes scanning the shadows. We can talk there. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Every distant footstep, every whisper of the wind made my stomach twist. How did I get here? I thought. A week ago, I was just trying to survive a lonely Thanksgiving, and now I was running from a man who could be dangerous, a man who seemed to know everything about me. We reached an old, abandoned warehouse. The young man pushed open the door, and I stepped inside cautiously. Why here? I whispered. He turned to me, his eyes serious. Because the answers, you're ready to hear, won't come anywhere else. I swallowed hard. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. He gestured for me to sit on a dusty crate. I did, hands shaking. Who is he? Why was he following me? I thought. And why did I feel like everything I knew was about to change? The young man crouched in front of me. Lauren, you're not just an ordinary volunteer. That note, the man, he's part of something bigger, something that's been tracking your family for years. Tracking my family? I whispered, disbelief burning in my chest. What are you talking about? He nodded. Your mother, your past, there are secrets buried, Lauren, secrets she didn't want you to know. I wanted to scream. Anger, betrayal, and fear collided inside me. All this time, all those years, my life was a lie? He placed a folder in front of me. I opened it slowly. Photographs, documents, all pieces of a puzzle I never knew existed. My family, my life, everything. Words caught in my throat. I flipped through the papers, secrets my mother had kept, secrets that explained why she shut me out this Thanksgiving. Then I saw a photo that made my blood run cold. The man in the dark coat, standing next to someone I thought I could trust. He's one of them, I whispered, trembling, and he knows I know now. The young man grabbed my hands. Lauren, you have to trust me. You're the only one who can stop what's coming before it's too late. I'll do it, I said, fear and determination mixing together. Outside, the city was quiet, but I knew this was only the beginning. Shadows were closing in, and my life, my family, everything I thought I knew was about to be turned upside down. And the worst part? I had no idea who I could really trust. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo again. The man in the dark coat, standing beside someone I thought I could trust. My hands were still trembling when the sun rose. This can't be real, I kept telling myself. But deep down, I knew it was. My mother didn't push me away because she didn't love me. She pushed me away because she was hiding something dangerous. The young man stood near the window, watching the empty street below. They'll come for you, he said quietly. Now that you know, they won't stop. Then why are you still here? I asked. My voice cracked. Why help me? He turned slowly, and for the first time, I saw guilt in his eyes. Because, he said, this is my fault too. My heart dropped. What do you mean, your fault? He took a deep breath. I was sent to watch you, he admitted. At first. The room spun. You were watching me? Every smile, every moment, suddenly felt fake. I didn't know what they were planning, he said quickly. I thought it was just information, just observation. So I was never safe? I whispered. Not even with you." He lowered his head. "But then I got to know you," he said, "and I couldn't do it anymore." I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream, but all I felt was exhaustion. Everyone I trusted, my mother, my family, and now you, was any of it real? He looked straight at me. "This is real," he said, "and that's why you need to run." Before I could respond, a loud bang echoed outside. Footsteps. Voices. "They're here," he whispered. He grabbed a small bag and pushed it into my hands. "Everything you need is inside," he said. "Go, now." "What about you?" I asked. He smiled sadly. "I'll slow them down." For a second, I didn't move. Then I ran, out the back door, into the unknown. As I disappeared into the night, one thought burned in my mind. If he betrayed them for me, how far would they go to stop me? I didn't stop running until my lungs burned. The cold air cut through my chest like glass. Every sound felt louder than it should have been. Every shadow felt alive. I kept expecting hands to grab me from behind, a voice to call my name, a bullet. Nothing happened, and somehow, that was worse. I didn't know where I was going, only where I couldn't stay. I turned corners without thinking, cut through alleys, slipped into streets that didn't feel safe, but felt invisible. The bag he gave me was light, too light, for something that was supposed to save my life. I ducked behind a closed store and finally stopped, bent over, hands on my knees. My whole body was shaking. That's when it hit me. I wasn't just running from them. I was running from everything I thought my life was. My mother's voice echoed in my head. Not angry, not cruel, just distant. She hadn't pushed me away to protect me. She pushed me away to protect herself. And suddenly, every unanswered question from my childhood made sense. I checked my phone. No signal, no missed calls. Either they hadn't found me yet, or they were letting me run. I didn't know which was worse. I found a cheap motel near the highway, the kind that doesn't ask questions, the kind you forget you ever stayed in. Inside the room, I locked the door twice, then slid down against it. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Fear had taken up all the space. I opened the bag. Cash, a burner phone, and one folded piece of paper. It had an address and just 4 words written underneath. "Do not trust anyone." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was too late. I had trusted everyone, and it had cost me everything. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the bed, fully dressed, waiting for footsteps that never came. Reflective. When morning finally arrived, the world looked normal again. Cars passed, people laughed, as if nothing had changed. But I had. I checked the date. Thanksgiving. Families would be gathering, tables would be full, homes would be warm. And I was hiding in a motel room, wondering if my own mother had just handed me over to monsters. By the time Thanksgiving morning truly began, I wasn't just alone. I was awake. And once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. By the time I stepped outside, the world had fully decided it was Thanksgiving. The air smelled different, like food, like warmth, like belonging. I walked without a destination, just following the sound of people, the hum of life continuing without me. Every window told the same story. Families inside, laughing, moving around kitchens that felt safe. I wondered when I had stopped being part of that picture. The restaurant was crowded, too loud. A hostess smiled when she saw me, the kind of smile you give strangers, the kind that doesn't know anything about you. "Table for one?" she asked. I nodded. She led me past full tables, past grandparents, past children swinging their legs. I felt invisible. I used to imagine this day differently. I thought maybe if I tried harder, my place would eventually feel secure. I was wrong. I ordered turkey, because that's what you're supposed to do. The waiter asked if I wanted cranberry sauce. I almost laughed. Such small choices, when my life felt anything but small. Across from me, a family held hands. Someone said a prayer. I looked down at my empty hands. That's when my phone vibrated. One notification. From my mother. I didn't open it right away. My heart was beating too fast. I already knew, whatever it was, it wouldn't be what I needed. Finally, I tapped the screen. It wasn't a message. It was a photo. Her dining table. The same one from my childhood. The same plates. The same centerpiece. Everyone was there. Everyone except me. Victoria was smiling. My mother was laughing. They looked relaxed, peaceful, as if something heavy had been removed. The caption read, "Grateful for peace this year." Peace. So that's what I was. Noise. A problem. Something that had to disappear so everyone else could breathe. Something inside me went quiet. Not broken, not angry, just clear. I finally understood something. They weren't missing me. They were relieved. The food arrived. I took one bite, didn't taste it. Across the room, a little girl laughed as her father wiped gravy from her chin. Her mother smiled like this moment mattered. I wondered what it feels like to be chosen. That's when I made a promise to myself. Not out loud, not dramatically, quietly. I would never sit at a table where my absence felt like relief. Because this Thanksgiving didn't just take my family from me, it showed me the truth. And once the truth settles in, everything that comes after is a reckoning. I paid the bill without looking at the number. Some things stop mattering once something bigger breaks inside you. Outside, the cold wrapped around me again. Not cruel, just honest. I walked for a long time, past families heading home, past leftovers packed with care. No one noticed me, and for the first time, I didn't mind. Back in the motel room, I sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, lights off. I let the silence stay, not the empty kind, the listening kind. I thought about the girl I used to be, the one who explained herself too much, the one who softened her words so other people wouldn't feel uncomfortable. She was tired, and I finally let her rest. I took the burner phone from the bag, turned it over in my hands. No history, no name, no expectations. I turned it on. One message appeared immediately. Unknown number. You made it. My chest tightened. Not fear, recognition. I typed back slowly. For now. The reply came almost instantly. Good. because this is where it starts. I stared at the screen. That word echoed in my mind. Starts. Not ends. Not survives. Starts. I thought about my mother again. About how easily she had erased me. Not with anger, but with comfort. She chose peace over truth and taught me something without meaning to. Love that depends on silence isn't love. I wasn't going back. Not to that house. Not to that table. Not to that version of myself. I picked up a pen from the nightstand, wrote the address from the paper on my hand. It felt real now. Permanent. Somewhere out there, people were still deciding who I was. A problem. A risk. A loose end. They were wrong. I was done being an accident in someone else's story. Because the version of me that survived that Thanksgiving wasn't looking for permission anymore. She was preparing. And the people who thought I had disappeared were about to realize I had only gone quiet. I left before sunrise, not because I was brave, but because waiting had become unbearable. The motel room smelled like nothing. No memories, no attachments. That felt intentional. I washed my face in cold water, looked at myself in the cracked mirror. The woman staring back at me looked older, not tired, alert. I memorized that version of my face, just in case it didn't last. The address led me out of the city, past familiar streets, into places that didn't care who I was. The further I went, the quieter everything became. By the time I arrived, I already knew this wasn't a mistake. The building was old, concrete, no sign outside, just a single door. I stood there longer than I should have, listening, counting breaths. Then, I knocked. The door opened halfway. A woman looked at me, mid-40s, sharp eyes. "You're late," she said. "I didn't know there was a time," I replied. She studied my face, then stepped aside. "Come in," she said. Inside, the air felt controlled, too quiet, too organized. 3 other people were already there. None of them smiled. That's when I realized something. This wasn't help. It was preparation. The woman handed me a folder. "Before we go any further," she said, "you need to understand what you're standing in the middle of." I opened it. Photos, names, transactions, and one familiar face. My mother. Not smiling, not laughing, signing something. My mouth went dry. This isn't what I think it is," I whispered. The woman leaned closer. "It's worse," she said calmly. The room tilted. All those years, all that distance. It wasn't fear that had shaped my childhood. It was choice. "She didn't just step aside," the woman continued. "She helped build it." Something inside me locked into place. The last excuse I had been holding on to disappeared. "What happens now?" I asked. She looked at me carefully. "Now," she said, "you decide whether you disappear forever or become a problem they can't erase." I closed the folder. For the first time since Thanksgiving, I didn't feel hunted. I felt dangerous. They didn't rush me. That's how I knew this was real. People who lie always hurry. The woman pulled out another chair, sat across from me. "Your mother wasn't always powerful," she said. "She was desperate." Desperate. That word settled differently than I expected. "She married into it," the woman continued. "Not for love, for protection." The room felt smaller. I thought of my childhood, the locked doors, the hushed phone calls, the way my mother always knew when not to ask questions. "She learned quickly," the woman said. "Silence kept her safe." "And Victoria?" I asked. The woman didn't answer right away. That told me everything. "She was willing," the woman finally said. "Easier to shape." I nodded slowly. I had always been the difficult one. I asked questions. I noticed patterns. I remembered things people hoped I wouldn't. "That made you dangerous," she said. The word didn't scare me. It explained me. I remembered being told I was too sensitive, too observant, too emotional. They weren't flaws. They were alarms. "You weren't supposed to stay," the woman said quietly. "You were supposed to drift." Drift. College, jobs far away, visits that got shorter every year. "That's why Thanksgiving mattered," she continued. "You coming back meant you were still attached, and attachments leave traces." So they didn't just uninvite me, they tried to erase the thread. My mother didn't choose Victoria over me. She chose survival, and I was the risk. "Does she know I'm alive?" I asked. The woman met my eyes. "She knows," she said, "and that scares her more than your disappearance ever did." That was the moment the last piece fell into place. She didn't hate me, she feared me. Fear makes people cruel, especially when it wears the mask of love. "Good," I said quietly. "Then she knows I'm not done." The woman didn't smile. She nodded. Because now, everyone in that room understood the same thing. I wasn't the loose end anymore. I was the reckoning. I left the safe house before anyone else woke. The folder in my hand felt heavier than it should have. Every step echoed in the empty street. I could hear my own heartbeat, and it made me feel alive. The address was burned into my mind. I didn't need a map. I just needed courage. Or maybe the absence of fear. I approached the old townhouse quietly, windows dark, the front door ajar. Something inside me tensed. Not fear, recognition. I slipped inside. The floorboards groaned. The air smelt like old paper and something metallic. The kind of metallic smell that doesn't forgive. Then I heard her, a soft voice, familiar, too familiar. "Lauren." Not a greeting, a warning. I stepped forward. "Mother," I said. The word tasted like ash. She didn't flinch, didn't look afraid, just measured me, as if weighing whether I was still a child or something else. "Did you really think you could hide?" she asked, her voice calm, cold, calculated. "I'm not hiding," I said. "I'm coming for the truth." A flicker of recognition passed her eyes. Then she smiled, the wrong kind of smile, the one that didn't forgive. "You've always been reckless," she said. but you've never been dangerous until now. I let the folder drop onto the table. Cards, papers, everything spilling like a confession. She froze. For the first time, I saw the cracks. "Do you really understand what you've just done?" she asked, voice low. I met her eyes. "Yes," I said, "and I'm ready for what comes next." For a moment, silence. The kind that hums with tension. The kind that says, nothing is ever the same again. By crossing this line, I had started a chain that could not be stopped, and she knew it. The mother who once erased me was finally scared. The air between us felt thick, like electricity before a storm. She stood perfectly still. I stepped closer. The folder lay open on the table. Names, dates, decisions I had never imagined she could make. "Why?" I asked, not shouting, just the quiet tremor of years of betrayal. Her eyes softened for a split second, then sharpened again. "It was never personal," she said. "It was survival." Survival. I repeated it in my head. She had chosen survival over love, over me. "And all those years, all the lies," I asked, "just to protect yourself?" Her lips twitched. "Would you have understood?" I shook my head. No, I wouldn't." She took a step closer. Her voice dropped. "If you have to understand, everything I did to keep this family alive." Alive? We weren't alive. We were surviving, barely. I slammed the folder shut. "I'm done surviving," I yelled. "Done hiding, done being erased." Her eyes widened for the first time. Not fear, recognition. She realized I had crossed the line she never expected me to. "I'm not your mistake," I said quietly. "Not your liability, not your secret, not your pawn." She looked at me, really looked, and I saw something crack inside her. A shadow of fear, the first flicker of doubt. All the control she had built, all the power she thought she had over me, was slipping. She moved toward the cabinet, grabbed a small box, opened it. Inside, photos, documents, everything I needed to finally understand. She handed it to me. "Take it," she said. "If you want the truth, this is it." I stared. Everything I thought I knew was just part of a story she had written without me. I opened the folder slowly, one page at a time, every word a revelation, every number a hidden decision. And then I saw it, the part that shattered the last piece of trust. My own name, marked as the risk, the one she could never fully control. I looked up. She didn't flinch. She just waited. And for the first time, I understood the real stakes. I closed the folder, stood tall. "This ends now," I said. "No more running, no more hiding, no more being the invisible risk." Because the truth doesn't forgive hesitation. And now, neither do I. I left the townhouse before dusk. The folder was tucked safely under my arm. Every step felt deliberate, every breath a reminder. I had the truth, and truth is dangerous. I found a quiet cafe, one that smelled like coffee and possibilities, sat in the corner, opened the folder again, spread the papers across the table. I made a list. Names, dates, connections, every hidden move my mother thought I'd never see. Strategy formed slowly, not rushed, not careless. Each step calculated, every move meant to regain control without being trapped in her shadow again. I called the number that had reached me before. The voice on the other side was calm. "Are you ready?" they asked. "Yes," I said, "and I'm not asking for permission." Plans like this aren't clean. They leave traces. They carry risk. But after what I'd learned, risk was the only language left. I returned to the safe house just after nightfall. The others were awake. They had been waiting. "Here's the plan," I said, spreading the papers across the table. "Everything we know, every weakness, every move she's made, every thread she thinks she owns, we follow it and we use it against her." They nodded. No words wasted. The gravity of what we were about to do was heavy. For the first time since that Thanksgiving, I felt a pulse of power. Not the kind of power that destroys, but the kind that demands attention. I thought of my mother, of the calm she wore when she erased me. I realized she had never prepared for me to become the force she couldn't control. And now she would. Every move she had made, every lie, every secret, would lead her right to me. And this time, I wouldn't be the one erased. I packed the folder back into the bag, checked my phone. Everything was ready. Everything except hesitation. I stepped outside. The night was cold, but it didn't scare me. It was quiet, and in the quiet I could hear the future calling. Tomorrow, she would know the reckoning had begun, and this time there would be no running. I waited until the city lights flickered low. The streets were mostly empty. Perfect timing. I checked my bag, folder intact, phone charged, everything aligned. Plans are fragile. One wrong move, and the whole strategy collapses. I knew that, but hesitation wasn't an option. I approached the first location on the list, a small office building. No sign, just a door slightly ajar. I slipped inside, silent as a shadow. Cameras, doors, I had already mapped the place in my mind. A man sat at a desk, unaware, focused on his computer. I tapped the folder on the edge of the desk. He looked up. Recognition flashed. Fear followed almost instantly. "Time to talk," I said quietly. No shouting, no threats. Just I waited until the city lights flickered low. The streets were mostly empty. Perfect timing. I checked my bag, folder intact, phone charged, everything aligned. Plans are fragile. One wrong move, and the whole strategy collapses. I knew that, but hesitation wasn't an option. I approached the first location on the list, a small office building. No sign, just a door slightly ajar. I slipped inside, silent as a shadow. Cameras, doors, I had already mapped the place in my mind. A man sat at a desk, unaware, focused on his computer. I tapped the folder on the edge of the desk. He looked up. Recognition flashed. Fear followed almost instantly. time to talk," I said quietly. No shouting, no threats, just power in the calm. I laid the papers in front of him. Connections, payments, decisions he had taken thinking he was invisible. His hands trembled. How did you get this?" he whispered. "I see everything. Every thread you touched, it leads to her. And now, it leads to me." He swallowed hard. I can explain." "No explanations, just cooperation or consequences." The man's face paled. I saw the calculation in his eyes. He weighed the choice. I didn't flinch. Sometimes power is not about anger. It's about presence, the weight of inevitability. He nodded slowly. "Yes," he said, "whatever you need." I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I packed the folder back in my bag. One move down, several more to go. Outside, the city was quiet. Too quiet. The night felt alive, watching. I knew she was awake. Mother. Every step I took was another crack in her control. And tomorrow, I would make the next move. She had underestimated me, and that was her first mistake. By sunrise, the city was stirring. Traffic, horns, life going on. Outside, the world seemed normal. Inside, the game had changed. I reviewed the folder again, every connection mapped, every weakness marked, every move calculated. The first phone call came within the hour. Her voice, cold, clipped, trying to mask fear. "She's moving faster than expected," she said. "We need to contain her." I smiled faintly, not out of joy, out of certainty. The first cracks were forming. I didn't wait. I activated the next step. Emails sent, messages delivered, contacts nudged in place. Within minutes, the ripple began. People moved, decisions changed, confusion spread. I imagined her watching, Mother, her control slipping like sand through her fingers. Then the call came, her voice shaking slightly. "Lauren, stop this." I leaned back in my chair. "Stop? No, not yet. This is only the beginning." She paused. I could hear her breathing, the crack in her armor. I hung up. Every second mattered, every move critical. By midday, the first agents under her command were scrambling, orders miscommunicated, plans disrupted. I watched from the cafe window, quietly sipping my coffee. Power isn't loud. Power whispers, nudges, makes people reveal themselves. By sunset, she realized she couldn't control everything. I had forced her hand. Every decision she made now carried risk. I stood outside the cafe, the city bathed in gold. I felt alive, powerful. Mother didn't know where I was. She didn't know my next move, and every passing second tightened the pressure around her. By nightfall, she'd be forced to act, and when she did, the game would change entirely. Night fell like a heavy curtain. The city lights flickered against the wet asphalt. I moved silently, folder tucked tightly under my arm, every step calculated. I knew she was waiting. Mother. Every move I made, she would anticipate, but not this. The first door opened. A faint light spilled onto the street. I slipped inside. The tension was electric. She stood at the end of the hall, calm, cold, calculating. Her eyes met mine. Recognition, fear, anger. "Lauren," she said, no warmth in her voice, just a challenge. "I told you," I said. "This ends tonight." She moved toward me, every step measured. "I've given you everything," she said. "My protection, my guidance, my family." I shook my head. "All of it was conditional," I said. "Everything you gave came with chains." She paused. For the first time, uncertainty flickered in her eyes, and I felt it. Power shift. "You think you've won," she said, voice low, "but you're still a child in my world." "No," I said. "I'm the reckoning." The lights flickered. She reached for a drawer. I anticipated the move, blocked her. The first direct clash. "Stop this, Lauren," she shouted. "Do you know what you're risking?" "I do," I said, "and that's why I have to finish it." We circled each other. Every glance, every step, every breath, a battle. Not just words, power, will, control. She lunged. I blocked. A vase shattered. Glass on the floor. The first real physical collision. Her voice dropped. "You could destroy everything." I shook my head. "Everything you controlled was already broken," I said, "and now I decide what remains." She froze. The realization hit. I wasn't afraid. Not of her. Not of the chaos she promised. And in that instant, the line between mother and child, power and survival, broke forever. I stood tall. She stared, neither of us moving. The collision had happened. The reckoning had begun. And the next move would decide everything. The room was silent. Shattered glass, scattered papers, the faint smell of fear lingering. She backed away, slowly, carefully. Every step measured, cautious. I watched her, the mother who once held power over me, now cornered by her own mistakes. "You've gone too far," she whispered, but it was barely a whisper. The tremor in her voice betrayed her. "No," I said. "I've only just begun." Outside, messages pinged on my phone. Contacts confirming movement. All her threads, unraveling one by one. She realized it too. Panic flashing in her eyes. Every decision she had made compromised. Her empire vulnerable. I leaned forward. "I didn't need to fight you," I said. "I just needed to expose you." Her gaze dropped to the folder. Every page a reminder. Every secret laid bare. And she had no one left to shield her. She tried to speak. I held up my hand. "Save it," I said. "Your time for explanations is over." The room vibrated with tension. The power dynamic had shifted. No words could reverse it. I gathered the scattered papers, slipped them back into the folder. Everything organized. Every step calculated. She watched me silently. For the first time, I saw uncertainty, fear. The mother who once erased me, now afraid of the child she underestimated. I straightened. "This is your warning," I said. "Every move you make from now, I'll be ready." She swallowed, nodded slightly, the cracks in her armor visible, her control slipping further. I walked toward the door. Outside, the night was calm, but inside, the storm had begun. And I knew one thing for certain. Once power shifts this completely, there's no going back. The city slept, but chaos had already begun. Every thread she had pulled, unraveling. Every plan she thought untouchable, exposed. I moved through the shadows, every contact confirming action, every ally aware. The network she built, collapsing from within. I remembered the first Thanksgiving, when I was cast out, unseen, unheard. All those years of hiding, surviving, waiting. And now, everything had come full circle. A call came, her voice trembling. "Lauren, you don't understand the consequences." "I understand perfectly," I said. "The consequences are yours, not mine." Every move she had made to erase me, every secret she hid to control others, every lie exposed. I arrived at the meeting point, the folder secured in my hands, every piece of evidence ready, every domino set to fall. I remembered she arrived, the once powerful woman, now hesitant, her steps measured, her face pale. "You think you've won," she said, her voice brittle, "but the world is bigger than you know." "I know exactly how big it is," I said, "and I know exactly how small your control has become." I opened the folder. Pages of proof, emails, payments, decisions, all pointing to her mistakes. Her face fell, the realization hitting. She had lost, not to me, but to her own choices. I stepped closer. "This is the reckoning," I said quietly. "Everything you tried to hide, exposed. Everything you tried to control, undone." She looked down at the folder, her empire, her influence, her power crumbling. She realized the truth. Not everyone can be controlled. I closed the folder, stood tall. "Your time is over," I said, "and from now, I decide what remains." She took a step back, fear in her eyes, control lost, irrevocably, and I, finally free. The folder in my hands, the city beneath our feet, everything shifting, was proof of one thing. The reckoning had arrived. The night had passed. Dawn broke softly over the city. The streets glowed golden, untouched by chaos, yet everything had changed. I stood at the balcony of the safe house. Folder gone, evidence secured, justice in motion. Everything I had feared, everything I had lost, had led me here. Mother would retreat into shadows, her control broken, her secrets exposed. And for the first time, I felt peace. I breathed deeply. No anger, no revenge, only clarity, the kind that comes after storms. Every betrayal, every deception, every hidden hand taught me one truth. Power isn't given, it's claimed. I walked through the streets. The air smelled of possibility. People moved, unaware of the battles fought in shadows, but I felt alive, whole. A message appeared on my phone, a simple line. You did it. You changed everything. I smiled faintly, not for victory, for freedom, for the life I would now build on my terms. I thought of the past, the girl who sat alone on that first Thanksgiving, shattered, unseen, erased. And now, she would never be erased again. The sun climbed higher, warmth on my skin, the city alive beneath me, and in that light, I felt reborn. Life had tested me, betrayed me, and yet it had also forged me, stronger, wiser, free. I whispered to myself, this is my story now, my path, my dawn. And as the city stirred, I walked forward, not afraid, not looking back, only forward, into the new day.
If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below.